Hello and welcome to another video, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about some online resources. A lot of people, if you were like me, wondering how to get started with Orthodox Prayers, and there's some very good resources out there. And to show you what we use, we actually have a hard copy of what I'm going to show you, but it's online. And when we first started, we used some prayers from Orthodox Church in America's website, and we moved into what's kind of commonly known as the Little Red Prayer Book from the Antiochian Archdiocese. And a lot of people use these, and we're just going to search Little Red Prayer Book, put Antiochian in there, and you'll see here that it comes up with some options. Little Red Prayer Book is now online. Orthodox Prayers. And so when I bring this up, there's a menu over here. Now the hard copy is going to be a little bit different. There is a appendix in the back that talks about prayers, but it's generally in the same order. And what we're going to see on here, the online version is a little bit easier to follow because as they're trying not to repeat things when you're doing morning, midday, and evening prayers, I'm going to show you this. There's a part of it that you start out with that's only printed in the morning prayers. So you'll have to go there, then you'll go to the midday or evening, depending on what time of day that you're doing your prayers. And so I'll just bring up the morning prayers here and show you this. It starts out with the Trisagion prayers. And the way that my family does this is that we read these prayers. We read these prayers straight through. You get down through Our Father, and after Our Father, if you're in the midday prayer or if you're in the evening prayer, you're going to go to those sections at that point, okay? And you'll have you'll start with something completely different. But in the morning time, here you're going to have Troparia to the Holy Trinity, and you can tell that this is a morning prayer. Having arisen from sleep, from my bed and from sleep, thou hast raised me. And we keep going through this. Very similar in the morning and the evening. The midday prayers a little shorter. You say the creed. Okay. And the creed is only printed in the morning prayers. So if you're in the evening prayers and it says say the creed, you just go back until you can memorize it. And some other prayers here that's pretty common. Pretty common. One aspect of these prayers, though, is that it's that there's a section here. Here may be added your own private devotion and intercessions using your own words or the occasional prayers. When you finish, conclude with this prayer, and it's through the prayers of our Holy Fathers. One thing that I run into when I'm talking to a Protestant or someone that's looking at Orthodoxy, they say, well, there's all these written prayers. And they'll tell me, well, you're not praying from your heart. Well, I pray from the heart when we're praying these written prayers. When I'm going through this, we pray from our hearts when we're standing in the divine liturgy. We're praying for our hearts during the Vespers and at home. But I understand what they're saying. Sometimes there are things that you want to say specifically, or you want to pray specifically, and the only thing you can come up with is your own words, and that's fine. And this is the place when you come through here, and trust me, when you pray through this prayer and you get to this point, you're in the attitude of prayer. You're standing before your icons, and there will be things. There may be people you want to pray for, and none of the printed prayers seem to kind of fit the situation. You may want to just whisper a name to others, and you may not learn some of the prayers that. But it's quite all right. It's quite all right. What you don't want to do is to repeat what happened after the Reformation, where the liturgical prayers were thrown out, and it's just whatever comes to your mind. And we need the framework of these prayers. We need the framework of these prayers. That's why you'll have a lot of times when people are together and know what to pray, they'll, Protestants, they'll pray the Lord's Prayer. It's a good framework. And so we're not going to get into all of that, but still, you want to be able to bring a different set of things sometimes up at this point. And that's a good place to do that. There are some prayers that we add in every night when we're doing our evening prayers. I'll just switch over to the evening prayers, and you'll see it's the same thing here. And again, in the hard copy, you'll have to go to the morning prayers, and then when you come back, you'll see the Stropario of Thanksgiving. But you can see it's a little bit different. There's the Creed, Prayer of the Hours. But there's some prayers that we add in every night. Go to the occasional. One of our kids, Samuel, he'll pray the prayer before the icon of the Theotokos every night. And I always pray this hymn to the Theotokos. It's very special to me. It does come from the liturgy. It's very familiar. And the Theotokos is very instrumental in bringing me to the faith. And we were already looking at orthodoxy with this whole idea, and it was just, asking the intercessions of the Holy Mother was a big deal. It was, it was overcoming decades of teaching that said that you couldn't do that, and it was, all these assorted things. But she's been very tender. I have a friend that came from, he was a Protestant pastor, and the Theotokos appeared to him in a dream. And you hear story after story after story how the Mother of God, and when we say the Mother of God, Jesus is God. She's his mother. And Theotokos means God-bearer. So how she intercedes for people and how she cares, just like my own mother cared for me. And others care for us. So this prayer is truly meant to bless thee, O Theotokos. The only thing I change in this prayer is kind of reflect what we hear at our own church. This one says, thou who without stain bearest God the Word. Say, remaining virgin, you gave birth to God the Word. True Theotokos, we magnify thee. And that's just a matter of translation. And so, another prayer. We pray this prayer to our patron saints, and also we'll use it as a framework to other saints too. But pray to God for us, O holy Saint Paisios, well pleasing to God. I fervently entreat you, who are sure help and intercessor for my soul. And you'll find that, and this really testifies to the continuance of the church, that here we are in the Antiochian Archdiocese, and the prayers are that similar through translation. This came through Syria. My own church is more of a Russian background, and so here we come. And it's very, very similar. God has preserved through His church the liturgy of these prayers. Some good ones in here about after meals, before meals, prayer of repentance, prayer for commencing before. But here's another one we put in every night. These others we don't. Prayer of repentance, or before the meal. Those we use regularly. But this is one, a prayer of parents. My wife always prays this one. It names all of our children in here, and you can add whichever ones you want. This is one I've used occasionally or in my private times of prayer, like midday prayers or whatnot, but I'm going to start putting this in our evening prayers. a prayer of married persons. One of our children always prays the prayer of a child. They're praying for us. And so you can see there's a lot of it in here. General intercession. Well, if there's just a lot going on, we will pray that prayer at times. Just a general intercession. There's a good menu over here. And you can see this. Self-examination before confession is really, really good. And sometimes on Saturday we'll put the prayers in preparation for Holy Communion. We'll say one that's different than the one that we pray right before we approach the cup in Divine Liturgy in our church. So this is what we use. Consult with your priest. There are other options. You'll see that there's a lot of websites out there with. You just want to make sure that you're at a valid website before you start using something. Orthodox Church in America, we were using their prayers, their evening prayers, and we changed over the room. There's nothing wrong with this one. It's very, very good. We use a lot of the resources on here. This is a fantastic resource, by the way. The Orthodox Faith, the 4-volume set by Father Thomas Hopko. I have 3 of these in hard copies. I'm trying to read through them, but it just takes so long. There's so much information through there. But that's a good introduction to the Orthodox Faith. That's kind of a side note what we're talking about, but there's a good section on here on the lives of the saints. You can come into the day, you can see specific saints that we're commemorating that day. Today we happen to be commemorating Irenaeus, Bishop of Lyons. You can read of his life, and there will be a short biography on there for most of them. Some of the saints that are recently named saints, they're not on there. Surprise, St. Paisios is not on the OCA site. I go to the Greek site to look up Troparion and Kentucky. These are hymns that would be attached to this name day. It's a lot. We use this a lot. You can look at the the readings, scripture readings. This would be today's scripture readings. That's in the church, and so a lot of good resources on here to add into that. I'm going to show you one more website, and again, you could go to the Greek site and find these, and it would be fine. But I want to show you the Assembly of Bishops website. This, if you've got a question about a church you're wanting to visit, is it canonical? Is it valid? You can come up here and come to the directories, your parishes. You can put in your zip code, your address. You can put in the name of the church. Most of them's on here, unless it's a newer church. They're on here. You can search and you can find churches in your area. You can find out if the jurisdiction is valid. And so you'll get a list there. And so another good resource, and this is very much tied into prayer. You want to make sure that where you're going for Vespers and Divine Liturgy is a valid extension of the church. It's rare to come across individuals who are schismatic. What do you say? They're out there. So be careful with that. And this is a good resource too if you're looking for a church to visit. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and may God bless you when as you're progressing in your prayer life and your journey to orthodoxy. Have a good day.